Hey, what's up, everybody? Just wanted to share with you all something I've been working on this morning. If you saw my last video, you saw that I was putting together an AFK cast one stun build. When I'm working with a build, I really like to either focus on offense or defense, kind of one at a time, independent of each other, as I tried to get through the pieces and really work through things. Yesterday, I kind of had a bit of, I knew what I wanted to do for the offense. If I really wanted to scale it, I could switch Detonate Dead into Phantasmal Cremation and only have Cremation on Cast When Stunned, and then just manually cast Unearth. If you've seen that build kind of around, as a Necromancer, that's been around quite a bit in the past couple weeks as a really good Simulacrum farmer. Really distracting with all of this going on, but I was okay with where my offenses were, but I really wanted to push the defenses really hard yesterday, and I also wanted to kind of unshackle myself from the restriction of even thinking about the offense. I just wanted to see what I could do defensively, and I also wanted to do it on not a Necromancer. Doing defense as a Necromancer right now is very well established, very well known. You put offerings on yourself and you can get all of those defensive nodes like that, max block, Aegis Aurora, etc. Now, this is kind of the same idea, basically the same idea, but I want to show what can be done without doing the Incandescent Heart thing, without doing Necromancer with offerings or anything like that, and also show that there might be some advantages to doing it on an Elementalist. There's nothing super unique or super crazy here, but this is just a template that you can look back on and see the pieces if you ever have a witch, and you could do this on anything else, but specifically if you have a witch that is feeling really squishy, you could look at this as a reference, maybe get inspired on okay, now this is how I get it tanky. And in fact, this character, I have some offense, but that's really not the focus. I just spent a few hours this morning putting together pure defense as well as I could, just to make a character that is effectively immortal-ish, and then you can kind of mix and match and make whatever offense set you want. What are we looking at here? What is the crux of making this character so tanky? If you know it, you know it. It's what a lot of people are using right now. It is the Aegis Aurora, or Aegis, however you prefer to pronounce it. It is a shield, gives you all res. It has very good armor and energy shield, which is really nice. 32% chance to block, which is really nice. And then replenishes energy shield by 2% of armor when you block. Well, if you stack a ton of armor, that's a lot. That's a lot of energy shield, right? With my Flask up, my character has 74,477. And that means every single time that I block, I replenish 1488 energy shield. So Aegis Aurora is just obviously absolutely ridiculous for that. On top of that, we also have Safeguard, recover 50 energy shield when you block spell damage. And on top of that, we have Divine Shield. 3% of physical damage prevented is regenerated as energy shield per second. So what that means is with all of that combined, with our powers combined, no matter what, as long as we don't get one hit, our energy shield is always pegging straight up to the top, right? It's just constantly hitting the cap. And you saw it as I was AFKing that simulacrum there. That is really the foundation. And then obviously, because we require blocking for enabling the Aegis Aurora and the Safeguard, we just try to get as much block as possible. On top of that, we take 30% of damage recouped as life, and then we can actually scale our life recovery rate, which actually increases the speed by which the recoup happens. So not only are we getting a ton of energy shield every single time that we block, and we're regenerating it for preventing physical damage recently, we're also recuperating that damage as life. On top of that, we saw that we have an absolute ton of armor, and the reason why I really like this as an Elementalist is golems are very, very, very strong right now, if you build into it. Why is that? Well, Ash as the stars, 30% quality to all skill gems, and what we do is we use anomalous summon golems. And that says we get increased buff effect as the quality. And so what we can do is we get 50% increased buff effect on each of our golems just from the quality Ash of the Stars and having anomalous. If we really wanted to, on top of that, we could get another 24% quality by linking it to enhance. So that's something that you can do as well. And then we have 100% effect here, 25% effect per golem. And if we really wanted to go all the way out, we could take Golem Commander for another 70% on top of that. But there really are obviously diminishing returns as you stack those that effect. So what that means is we actually get a very good baseline amount of flat physical damage reduction just from our Chaos Golem. So we do have to summon all of our golems to show this. you see that we went from 51 to 65% physical damage reduction. And unlike the armor calculation, this is actual flat physical damage reduction. So it doesn't matter if it's a 5,000 damage hit coming in or a 10,000 damage hit coming in. It's always 14% off the top. On top of that, we do have 4 endurance charges, which gives us an additional 16% physical damage reduction for a flat 30% off the top of all incoming physical damage reduction. And then with all of the armor that we have, we are significantly reducing all physical damage incoming. There's just so many layers, sorry. On top of that, we actually have 60% extra damage reduction on the crit. Could just use Brass Dome here, but I actually really like using this Grasping Mail for the 100% increased global defenses. And this is a super cheap one. I bought this base. This is, obviously a bad fracture on it. And, I know global defenses is expensive if you buy it linked and all that. You can currently buy with bad mods on it for just 1 Exalt, the Grasping Mail that has 100% global defenses. As you can see, it gives us a ton of life, energy shield, and armor as well. So it's very, very much worth going for the Grasping Mail, in my opinion, over the Brass Dome, because we can get 60% critical damage reduction. Now, the Brass Dome is really, really nice because we are using the Aegis Aurora, which gives us +5 to our max cold res. And with that, we're using Melding of the Flesh, which says elemental resistances are capped by your highest maximum elemental resistance instead. This is a classic combo that people are doing right now, but just to fully explain it, we're using Melding of the Flesh, which says elemental res is capped by your highest max elemental res, right? So since cold res is getting the +5, it actually sets all of them to the highest, which is our cold res. And then we could put on the Brass Dome, which adds +5 to that cold res there. And then all of our reses would be 85. So this is a very, very, obviously very, very strong option. Yeah, I just really like the amount of ES and life that we get from the Grasping Mail. The Brass Dome has a pretty big downside of doesn't give you any life. And it says strength provides no bonus to maximum life. We're actually just missing 95 flat life off the top there, and an additional 85 flat life here. And we could have even more with a better Grasping Mail, right? So I just really, really like this just to have that bigger pool, that bigger energy shield pool for us to recover into. But yeah, Brass Dome is obviously really, really good. So yeah, you cap your reses, cap your chaos res, cap your block chances as best as you can. I am using Glancing Blows to kind of hit the highest that we can there. We do take 65% of that incoming damage when we block, but since we're recovering so much, it just kind of doesn't matter. Now, if we could cap our block chance without doing that, that would be awesome, but it's actually really, really hard with the Aegis Aurora by itself and nothing else really giving us block chance. I'm using Enduring Composure, gain 1 endurance charge every second if you've been hit recently, and you get 45% increased armor on top of that. Endurance charges, that flat physical damage reduction. I'm using a Watcher's Eye that gives us 1,000 flat armor, and if this were Divine Better, 50 chaos res when affected by Purity of Elements. Using Purity of Elements to get our resistances as high as we can. Since we have 80 all res or 85 with the Brass Dome, it is extra hard to hit that. And if you're doing Simulacrums, I think Purity of Elements is basically must have because a lot of monsters in there will do Scorch, Brittle, and Sap, which are things that you don't really worry about usually in mapping. And then the one final piece that really brings it together that lets you kind of just sit there and AFK forever is I have flasks here that gain charges when you're hit by an enemy. And if we're getting hit a lot, we're just standing there blocking, no evasion or anything, right? We don't want evasion. We're stacking our block chance and we're getting hit constantly and we're gaining charges. We have used one block enchanted on there and then we gain charges when we're hit. So I have a Basalt Flask, a Granite Flask, and a Quartz Flask that are all fully going all the time. I also have a Taste of Hate and a Roomies here, just kind of as placeholders. Roomies is really nice, for getting that block chance up there. But, obviously, best in slot would probably just be a Mage Blood that's, doing everything for you. But, as a budget option, we don't have that, obviously. We're using this as our combination of our flask. We can just stand there, and our flask will constantly recharge, and they'll just always be active. And you can basically just, it's kind of like a fake blood type of setup there. Yeah, it's just really, really nice. All right, let's see if we're missing anything else. M regenerating 800 life per second, which is really nice. I did have that a little bit higher earlier, but I think I moved some things around. 60% extra crit damage reduction. The spell block, 48% with our flask up. That is lower than I would like. You could spec into some more spell block if you really wanted to. There's a couple nodes here that I don't have. Yeah, this is really the foundation. You can see the flask kind of going off constantly here. Sometimes we will take a bigger hit that will kind of go through the ES. But yeah, you can just kind of stand there and tank forever. As I said at the beginning, this is just the foundation for the concept of just showing, there really isn't that much out there for people that I've seen really showing off how tanky you can be on an elementalist instead of a necromancer, right? Like necromancer is the one you get your max block, your bone offering, and you get all that type of stuff, and then you have your auras with your, your AG and all that type of stuff. But I really wanted to show that the golems are really, really nice, and obviously a necromancer can take the golems as well, and be even stronger now with those forbidden jewels. But if you really want to play a necromancer or even an occultist, and you could grab the forbidden jewels for the, is it Liege of the Primordial, I think? Yeah, Liege of the Primordial, this is the one. You just want those golems to be able to resummon. Now, obviously won't be as strong as having all 3 golems here, but just having 2 golems that are twice as strong, doing Anomalous, and tossing on Ashes of the Stars, throw an Enhance in there to make them even stronger, and you'll have a really, really strong defensive layer that then you can focus on your offense outside of that. Like, you don't have to overinvest this much in a defense for making your own build, but if you do have a witch or an elementalist, specifically an elementalist or an occultist that is feeling really, really weak right now, very squishy, consider these pieces. The cast when stun thing was like kind of cool, and I was having fun kind of playing around with that, but I really wanted to like totally solve the defense and have something that was like, I'm just a casual build enjoyer, and I like the systems and the mechanics and all that. And I just wanted to share with you guys like the template here for this. This is it, right? Block, recovery, regen, very, very strong, just overall physical damage reduction and all elemental reduction as well. Cap out those reses is very strong, and it's very fun. So yeah, hopefully this inspires you. If you have a build that's kind of feeling squishy, maybe there's something in here that could inspire you, and maybe you'll get some ideas and you can solve that defense. Because like really in this game, offense is kind of solved. Like that's the flashy thing that everyone shows off, right? Like, oh, 800 million DPS. I think it's important to kind of talk about the defense here. I think it's something that's kind of underserved. So yeah, I'll just leave you with that, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Goodbye.